As you guys can see, the remote collar training isn't something you have to do if your dog is disobedient, not coming when called, aggressive. Remote collar training is simply to advance your relationship with your dog, to advance your ability to reach out and touch your dog. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the coolest dog training channel right here on YouTube. I'm Tom Davis, America's Canine Educator. Thank you for joining me here today. Today is going to be episode number 2 of how to introduce the remote collar properly. If you haven't watched episode number 1, simply click the link above. Now today, it's very simple. What we're going to do is short and sweet. We're going to make sure that Silver, the young Cane Corso, is understanding the pressures of the remote collar. Today we're going to be proofing the e-collar, which means if you don't have to use any type of corrective collar or pinch collar or martingale collar, today's the day to remove those things, because I want her to solely be responding to the pressure from the e-collar. So today we're going to be going back and forth, making sure she's responding just to this. So I want to put no pressure on her at all with the actual leash. And then of course, throughout this whole process, making sure that you're doing this in a very controlled environment where there's not a lot of extra stimuli when we're teaching the new stuff or teaching the new equipment. So I'm going to show you that process right now. Heel. Good. So remember, every single time I ask her, heel, no pressure on the leash. I'm going to stop, sit. Good girl. There's a good girl. Heel. Good. And remember, every single time I ask her to do something like heel or sit, I'm tapping the remote. Heel. And so the point of this is proofing the e-collar. Sit. Good girl. Down. Good girl, Silver. Heel. Good. So right there. So here's the bread and butter and the secret to this proofing mechanism or this system that I'm doing. Heel. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to turn. Heel. Good. So now I'm going to start doing tap and turns. Heel. She's going to be on the outside of me. Come on, heel. Good. Good girl. Heel. Good. So what that does is it helps me understand if she's actually responding to this. Come on. Good girl, Silver. Good girl. Heel. Good. Good. Silver, sit. Well, that's not a sit, is it? Break. It's really hot here in Kansas City, so I'm not too concerned with her going into a down after I ask her to sit. I'm not so worried about the obedience portion currently. I'm more worried about her responding to the e-collar. Right now she's on a level 4. And so just to break it down a little bit more, what I'm doing is when I turn, I'm tapping and I'm holding. So when I have the leash in my hand, I want to make sure that I'm not giving her any of that leash pressure. A lot of people have the tendency and the habit of when you turn and you pop with your leash. Well, that's great because it gets her to respond faster, but I only want her to listen to the remote collar at this time. So this is the second episode of just proofing out the remote collar. More importantly, getting you as the handler used to just using the e-collar as a communication tool. Because right when we get into step 4 in our last session, there's not going to be any leash involved, which is what we're going to play into here in a little bit. Stay. So again, something you can always do throughout this process when you do your stay is just reinforce the stay with the remote collar. So from a distance, again, I can reach out and touch her, just like calling somebody on a cell phone or texting them. I'm here and I'm giving her information that she understands. So I'll say, good stay, and I'll tap. Good stay, and I'll tap. But again, importantly, you have to make sure that the dog actually understands these types of commands before you try this, because you're going to get really frustrated. Again, this isn't to teach stuff, it's to reinforce stuff at this level. Another great exercise you can do to help introduce the remote collar is the send away to the place with only remote collar pressure. So again, in this episode, it's no pressure from the leash, so we're not going to guide her up, we're not going to pull her up. We're simply only going to use the continuous function from the remote collar on a low level. Break. Good. Silver, place. Yes, good girl, good place. And right now I'm just using verbal praise and also food praise when she gets there. So pressure on, she gets there, it shuts off, then she gets paid for it. It's just another really fun and engaging exercise for you to not only build your relationship, your obedience, and of course, the remote collar. Silver, place. Yes, good place. Good place. Okay, break. So the great thing with this is I'm touching her without being next to her. And she's starting to probably understand that pressure. Place. Good girl. Down. Yes, good girl. It's just being able to give her that pressure from a distance. It's remarkable. It's groundbreaking. I'm throwing the remote. I'm so excited about it. Silver, place. Yes, good place. Good place. Yay, good girl. Good girl. Break. As you guys can see, the remote collar training isn't something you have to do if your dog is disobedient, not coming when called, aggressive. Remote collar training is simply to advance your relationship with your dog, to advance your ability to reach out and touch your dog. This is very fun and engaging. She's a happy dog right now. She's getting a lot of positive reinforcement. She's getting also a lot of food, which makes her a very happy dog. She's hot, but this is really fun for her. And she is a sensitive dog. She's a young Corso. She's really sensitive. And so I have to be careful as a handler not to overdo it. So incrementally just doing them for 10-minute spurts throughout the day, she's really gonna start capturing this, and she's doing really, really good. Place. Go to your place. Good girl. So you see there, as I asked her to place, I also backed up because I want her to understand that I do not have to be next to her to control her. Very good girl. Good. Brick. Silver. Place. Yes, good girl. What a good place. Good girl. Now I can go and deliver her her reward. And I don't care if she downs or she sits because we didn't teach her any type of behavior when she gets on there. She just has to go there. Silver, place. Yes, good girl. Good place. Good girl. Good. Break. So as you guys are doing this, if your dog is not placing and doing the send away from a distance, that's okay. All you have to do is get really close to the place command, turn your e-collar on, place, she goes there, or your dog goes there, yay, you shut it off. So if you're not at the advanced stages yet on episode 2 or on step 2, that's totally fine. But basically what we're doing is we're taking all the stuff that we've done in episodes 1 and 2, and we're starting to do it from further distances. So again, when you're at this level on step 3 out of 4 or 5, our end goal is to completely have the leash non-existent, but there is gonna be times where your dog is gonna be an opportunist and doesn't know clearly what the e-collar is just yet.